Hi there. How's it going? It's been a while, huh? Well, this is going to be a bit of a different video. I'm not going to belabor the intro too long, but I'm currently writing a story, like a book, just like a passion project, a novel. No delusions about it being that amazing or anything, but, I've read a lot of writing tips in my time, right? I've seen a lot of people giving their thoughts about what makes a good story, or how to write a good story, or things to avoid while writing a story. And I kind of fancy myself as being quite receptive to these kind of tips, I'm always interested in seeing what other people think makes a good story. So when I saw this list of 100 writing tips by this person here, Lily Orchard, I was obviously very receptive, and I very much wanted to see what their opinion was. Now, if you don't know who Lily Orchard is, I shall summarize her thusly. She's a bitch and a complete piece of shit. If you want to know more, there's a 900-page thread on Kiwi Farms you can read if you're interested in that. But yeah, I'm not going to just go on and on about how much of a piece of shit she is. You can look that up for yourself. You're not here to read that. There's plenty of YouTube videos talking about that. But yeah, additional piece of context. This person's only real writing experience is they've written, I believe, a weird My Little Pony fanfiction with some like pedophilic undertones, which is gonna be quite weird when you consider some of the advice in this thread. So anyways, let's get started on these fucking phenomenal writing tips right here. Now, first of all, not all of these are going to be bad. There are going to be some tips here that I'm actually going to agree with, and pretty much agree with completely. And we're going to start off with number one with something that I basically pretty much agree with, which is, number one, don't worry about spoilers. If your story is good, spoilers aren't going to make it any less enjoyable. If spoilers make a story less enjoyable, that just means you're relying on cheap shock value as a shortcut. I actually agree with this. Most of the time. Now, there are some stories where, yes, spoilers will kind of ruin them. If you're doing like a murder mystery kind of whodunit sort of story, then yeah, spoilers kind of ruin it. But even then, if I get spoiled in a sort of story like that, I can kind of just read it and see what the author's trying to do and how they like build up, just how they craft the story. And it's kind of like watching something like Knives Out for a second time and seeing like all the foreshadowing and getting things you didn't get before. So you can kind of do that on your first watch, but yeah, I agree. Those kinds of stories are sort of ruined by spoilers, but if Tony Stark dying ruined fucking your favorite superhero movie, then you knowing that going in, then yeah, that's kind of a bad story. And I think people kind of overreact with spoiler culture. So yeah, number one, tick. Mostly agree. Pretty much agree. Number two, the middle point of a story is the best time to get a main couple together. Are you working on a 5-season show? Put your main couple together halfway through season 3. The finale is the worst time because we don't get any time to enjoy the payoff. So this is going to be the first tip in a sub-series of tips that are simply just Lily's opinion that she's masquerading as good writing advice. This is purely opinion. This is purely your personal preference on what makes a good story. This isn't a writing tip. This is just stories that you like. There are plenty of fucking reasons why you would have a character get together at the end of the story. Maybe you want the entire story to be about their journey together and the journey towards their relationship, and it ends with them getting together. That's a perfectly valid story. This idea that, no, they have to get through in the middle of, like, in season 3 in a season 5 show. Okay, if that's what you want to do, and you want to be like, okay, the first 2 seasons are about kind of them getting together, and then season 3 they get together, and then season 4 and 5, it talks about how they, how they deal with that relationship and how they live together. Perfectly fine. Perfectly valid way of writing a story, but no, that's not the best way. There are plenty of ways you can do that successfully. This is just simply your opinion, as is this. Number 3, friends to lovers is better than enemies to lovers every time. Now, she got ratioed hard on this, but once again, this is not writing advice. This is just opinion. Both friends to lovers and enemies to lovers are great tropes. Well, obviously, that's my opinion. I think they're both great tropes, and how good they are depends on how well you write them. That's it. Now, me personally, I prefer friends to lovers. I think it's sweet, right? But I'm not going to say, no, friends to lovers is better than enemies to lovers. In my personal opinion, yes. But as a writing tip, no. Both can be done well. And once again, this is just Lily's opinion that she's saying, nope, this is how stories should be. And also, this, you notice here that, villain to a lover. This is going to be a recurring theme. Lily does not like nuanced villains. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that very soon. Number 4. Victims of abuse moving away from negative impacts of their abuse, i.e. Zuko. Okay, there's going to be like a number of like these esoteric references to shows I just don't know. So, sorry if I missed some context there. I don't know who Zuko is or what that's from. And becoming healthier are not redemption arcs. What? So, victims of abuse moving away from negative impacts of their abuse and becoming healthier are not redemption. How is that not a redemption arc? Oh, okay. So I'm moving forward with my life and moving away from the negative impacts of my abuse. That's not a redemption arc? What? I mean, we could just be arguing semantics here about what a redemption arc is, but that kind of sounds like a redemption arc to me. In a way, maybe for another character that's not a redemption arc, right? A redemption arc can be purely subjective. Who knows? So yeah, I don't know what... This once again just seems like some fucking SJW opinion on what makes a good story. It depends on how you write it. And here we go. Here's some of that villain hating right there. Heroes refusing to kill villains who have shown to be actively trying to murder people isn't noble. It's enabling. Okay, so look, let's address the elephant in the room here. We're gonna be using this word a lot. It's a very scary word, and I've already said it actually. But you know, well, sorry, I didn't warn you before I did. Okay, it's the N-word. Okay, the N-word, the big fucking scary N-word. That is incredibly dangerous. If you say it, you'll get a fuck ton of hate immediately. If you invoke it, you'll have fucking hordes of people screaming at you. No, not nigger. I'm not talking about nigger. I'm talking about nuance, okay? Nuance. Nuance is very important in good storytelling. Moral subjectivism is a fact, okay? Morality is not set in stone. There is no... Even if there was a god who said, yes, this is the law of the land, that's still just that god's opinion, alright? Everyone has a different idea of right and wrong. And we, heroes and villains, yeah, okay, maybe the hero doesn't kill the villain because they think that, yes, they're doing bad shit, but maybe that bad shit actually ends up being good later on. Maybe that's just... Or maybe the hero is wrong. Maybe the hero is just wrong. And the whole point of the story is like, yeah, the hero is wrong and they're incorrect. It's not enabling necessarily. There's a lot of nuance that can go into that sort of shit. Okay? Right? And yeah, nobility, that's just, whatever. You can have your opinion on what's noble or not. But to say, like, basically she's setting it in stone that, like, no. If you have a villain and the hero has an opportunity to kill that villain and that villain's killing people, then that hero is a piece of shit for not doing so. Depends on the story. Depends on the context. Nuance. Okay? What if that hero is killing tens of thousands of people, but in doing so, he's saving millions of people? It could still be this perverted logic, but if it works, maybe the hero's like, okay, that kind of makes sense, I guess, right? Do the ends justify the means? Who knows? Oh my god, drama! We have a story now! We don't just have a moral black and white. Like this fucking stupid piece of advice here is trying to fucking make you do. Number 6. 2 women kissing in the last episode of the show after 4 to 5 seasons of trying to murder each other isn't revolutionary, it's fetishized abuse and violence? How? So 2 women who, like, are fighting each other and, like, enemies throughout the story who get together at the end is not, like... Okay, yeah, I agree, it's not revolutionary. But how is it fetishized abuse and violence? So, like if a male and a female who were, like, enemies, like, one of them was a villain and one of them was a hero, and there was a redemption arc and they ended up getting together in the end and kissing at the end, like, is that fetishized abuse and violence? No, what the fuck? No. Yeah, I agree, the shoehorning in a lesbian kiss or something for, like, oh, look how progressive we are. That's dumb. If you want to make a progressive story, make a progressive story. Don't just fucking shit. Yeah, here we go. Here's some fucking fan service at the end. Like, I mean, whatever. I don't really care, but that's dumb shit in my opinion. But, yeah, it's not fetishized abuse and violence. You're fucking retarded. What do you want about? Twitter is not the appropriate place to reveal story details. The appropriate place is in the work itself. Number 7. Yeah, agree. Twitter isn't the place where you should be telling a story. If you're telling a story, tell it in your writing. I agree with that. I don't know if this is like a critique of like J.K. Rowling, who keeps like retconning Harry Potter and adding shit in that wasn't in the story. But if so, I mean, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, if it's in the story, then it's part of the story. If you're just bitching about it on Twitter, then it's not part of the story, in my opinion. Number 8. When a character's body count is over 10,000 innocent lives, and that character is no longer redeemable. What if they are, though? What if they killed 10,000 innocent people, but in doing so, save hundreds of millions of other innocent people? Right? Now, you might say, oh, that's unrealistic, but yeah, look at the ratio on this fucking tweet. That is a possibility in storytelling, okay? Like, fucking... and it's possible for someone to kill that many people and still think that they are in the right. You know, no one's the villain in their own story. Nobody thinks they're evil. Nuance, okay? Yeah, chances are this person's a piece of shit and they're not redeemable. But what if they are? That's an interesting kind of story. What if they actually are redeemable? What if there is a redemption arc that can take place? Oh, no, that's no. In Lily's world, that's not possible. Evil people just have to be evil and portrayed as evil in every way, and there's no nuance, and no. You can't write a good story, you just have to write a fucking jack-off fiction of good versus evil, because we fucking had so much of that already. No morally grey characters, nothing like that. Just has to be boring black and white. Amazing writing advice. 9. Tip 8 does not apply to characters who making them a villain was a stupid, idiotic idea, i.e. character I have no fucking idea about. At that point, it's just character derailment. Okay, well, I don't know what the context is about this here, but I mean, yeah, whatever. This is just... Making a character a villain was a stupid, idiotic idea. Is this character meant to be someone who she, like, sympathizes with, but they're portrayed in, like, a bad way and she doesn't like it? So, like, you know, if there's, like, a gay character who's portrayed as a villain, which, because as we know, there are no gay people who are bad people, you know? So, is that what that is? Because if that's the case, I don't know the context here, but if that's the case, then that's retarded. Yeah, I don't know. So, I guess we'll just skip over that one. Number 10. Everything in a story is there because the creator wished it to be there. Trying to explain away bigoted story decisions using world building is a fallacy because you put it there to begin with. You have no fucking idea how to build a world, okay? Now, yes, if you're creating a pure fantasy world, then maybe. But most stories have most stories that feature humans, specifically, have some basis in, like, archetypes of human history, right? So... Maybe you have, like, a fantasy setting, but it's more like a kind of Wild Westy fantasy setting. It takes things from, like, the Wild West, right? So in that case, you could reasonably expect there to be mostly men in that story. You could reasonably expect there to be some amount of racism in that story against people who aren't white or people who are different or some allegory there. So, yeah, no. And especially if you're, like, setting a story in, like, a historical time period. Like, you know, Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained, right? You can't just say, oh, you know... Quentin Tarantino's use of the word nigger in that movie was bigoted. Him using the word, him using world building to explain that is just him it's just him trying to explain it away. That's a fallacy. No, the story is set in slavery era America, it's set in Mississippi, right? Slavery era Mississippi. It makes perfect fucking sense, all right? Perfect context. Now, if you wanted to say, well, you know, you can't explain away bigoted decision because it was your decision to write it in that context. Still kind of stupid, but makes more sense than what you've said here. So yeah, that's fucking retarded. Number 11. Don't pair adults with minors. That's pedophilia. This isn't writing advice. This is just a fact. Like, why is this paraded as writing advice? That's just you saying, like, here's something that is factually correct. That is writing advice. Okay. That's weird. I guess if you're using this as a criticism of work, I mean, yeah, in general, that's not a good idea. But I mean, there are stories that have used that to explore some dark themes, like Lolita is one of those stories. Phenomenally written book. Like, are you going to say that that story should never have been written? I disagree. That's an excellent story. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, true. But, right, it's not writing advice. Like, what? That's just you moralizing. Number 12, don't sexualize teenage characters. Okay, once again... It's just, yeah, just moralizing. Okay, yeah, sure. Agree, but what's the writing advice here? 13. Don't make up weird anime excuses for sexualizing teenage characters, blah, blah, blah. Okay, look, can we just talk about it? Who fucking cares, right? Yeah, you know, whatever. It's not, I don't think it's a good thing you should be doing, but who fucking cares, right? It's a fucking fiction. If you want to write whatever you want in the story, I don't give a fuck. I don't think anyone should really give a fuck. People who want to read it can read it. People who don't want to read it don't have to read it. People who hate it can hate it. It doesn't matter to me. Right? Write whatever the fuck you want. Write whatever horrible, weird shit you want. It's just, as long as it's just fucking words, who cares, right? That's the way I see it. Number 14. Making a metaphor for a gay trans ace representation is always actually inferior to just making a gay trans... Okay, wait, hold on. What if that's just not possible in the setting of the story, though? Oh, wait, no, you already addressed that. No, world building and fucking context in the setting of a story, that makes no sense. But let's just say that I'm wrong, right? And it does make complete sense. What if it's just not possible for there to be like an openly gay or trans character in that story, right? What if it's set in slavery era America? We're having like a trans slave wouldn't make any fucking sense. Number one, because people probably wouldn't even be able to reconcile those thoughts in their head to even realize that they're trans. And number two, they would be like lynched immediately. So they just straight up wouldn't exist in that world openly. So yeah, you can make metaphors in those regards. Or you can just have metaphor. You can just not have a gay character or a trans character and have a metaphor for that. Maybe you just don't want to write a trans character because that, you know, that connotes a personality, and it has a whole story that you might not want to get into, or you don't have to write something like that. That's perfectly fine. You have to write something you don't want to write. It doesn't mean that someone's transphobic. It just means that they're using a metaphor. Like, what the fuck? Number 15. If there are humans in your story, restricting gay, trans, ace representations of non-human characters makes you a huge turd. Oh, okay. Now we enter the huge turd series of tweets. These are all fucking retarded, and these are all just her opinion. So we can pretty much just dismiss them, but we'll go over them, of course. No, you're not a huge turd if you restrict the gay trans rep to fucking... What is ace? What does that mean? Ace. Gay, trans... Ace. Wait, is that like asexual? Okay, I think that just means asexual. Right, okay. Yeah, you know, maybe like, you know, the non-human characters in your story are like, a race of fucking amorphous aliens who just don't really have genders, and you use that to explore the idea of fucking, there's a trans identity and shit like that. Like, that's perfectly fine. So I don't see what the criticism is here. I don't see how this is good writing advice. Number 16. If the only gay man in your work is a foppish diva, you're a huge turd. Have you ever met gay men, Lily? Because I've met quite a few gay men in my time. Not like that. But I've met quite a few gay men in my time, and quite a few of them are like that exaggerated gay personality. And they like that. And they enjoy that. And that's who they want to be. And that's perfectly fine. So that kind of personality type is not like a negative stereotype. You are not the arbiter of like what makes a good gay person, Lily. Okay? Gay people can be foppish divas. Okay? They can be the exaggerated gay stereotype. There are plenty of people like that out there. Okay, so, yeah, it might be a bit on the nose, might not be subtle, but, you know, it's not bad writing. This is not good writing advice. What are you on about? If the only lesbian in your work is an abusive rageaholic with vague angst issues and codependent relationship with the protagonist, you're a huge turd. Lily, have you ever met a lesbian before? Once again, I've met some lesbians in my time. A lot of them tend to be, like, tomboyish and angry. And yeah, all of them are like that. No, not all of them are like that. That's true. But there is that stereotype. And yeah, stereotypes kind of exist for a reason. If you don't want to write a story with a lesbian like that, don't write a story with a lesbian like that. But it's not horrible writing advice if someone writes a story with like a stereotypical lesbian. Okay? Like, let's be real here. Number 18. If your only non-binary character is a non-human shapeshifter, you're a huge turd. Okay, what about just not writing a non-binary character? Because non-binary is fucking... I'm sorry, I know I'm gonna get, like, people pissed off. Like, non-binary is just, like, special snowflake bullshit. Like, piss off with that shit. Right? But that's just my opinion. But if you want to write a non-binary character, that's fine. If you want to write them as a non-human shapeshifter, that's fine. It's not bad writing advice for me to say, like... I think it's dumb, so don't write it like she's doing here. She's saying, no, there have to be a human character. You can't have it as like a metaphor, as like a shapeshifter who's like amorphous and can be whoever they want. That kind of sounds non-binary to me, right? Sounds like the essence of non-binary. So what the fuck is wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Oh, so you're saying I have to... So basically, if I write a character that's gay or trans and I want to make a metaphor with them with like a non-human character, I have to have like a bunch of superfluous other side characters who are also human and also non-binary or trans or gay just to fucking even things out. I gotta make a bunch of dumbass side characters who have no relevance to the story. Like, what? That's fucking horrible writing advice. If your only autistic character is an ethically challenged number fetishist, you're a huge turd. Have you ever met a fucking autistic person? For the love of God. Yes, autistic people happen to generally be ethically challenged. They don't know how to read social cues too well. They might have a skewed perception on what's right or wrong in terms of what the society believes versus what they believe. And they tend to be pretty fucking good with numbers. What's wrong with that? Like, what's wrong with writing them like that? Yeah, Are all of them like that? No. And if you want to write a character that's different to that, go ahead. But saying, no, you can't write autistic people as autistic people is fucking retarded. Like, what do you want about? No, if you're writing a story about an amputee, you can't write anything about how they're like they don't have an arm. Like you can't reference that at all, right? You can't talk about their struggle with not having an arm and sort of how they live their life without having. No, you can't talk about that. No, wrong. Bad writing. Bad writing right there. If your only black characters are volatile, hyper angry. Okay, we're just going over the same shit right now. Okay? Okay? Black people can be volatile, hyper angry brutes. Just like every type of person can be a volatile, hyper angry brute. The character being black in the story. So, if you have a character that's like a stereotypical thug, you have to write a bunch of other black people who are not that to like balance it out and show that you're not like... Horrible writing advice. Horrible writing advice. Number 21. If the only black woman in your cast... Blah, blah, blah. Okay, which... If the only trans woman in your cast... Okay, we're just gonna fucking skip those. Same bullshit, just with, like, a different identity. 23. If you force a woman to kiss or abuse it, you're a huge turd. If you force... Yes, that's right. When I'm writing, I'm forcing it. It's not happening organically as part of the story, and I'm just writing what would logically happen in a certain situation. No, I am forcing it. I am shoehorning it in. Now, yeah, can that happen with writing? Sure. But there's also the N-word. Nuance. Nuance, right? Maybe the woman is kissing her abuser because she's fucking, you know, she has a skewed perception and she doesn't realize she's being abused, and it goes to show how much power the abuser has over her, that he can convince her to kiss him even though he's being abusive, right? Maybe it's written like that. Maybe there's some nuance in the story. Maybe it's just not like this author made the woman kiss her abuser. That goes to show that fucking author thinks that women kissing their abuser just fine. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, just fucking acquiesce to your abusive spouse, no problem. That's what that author thinks. I'm not actually going to analyze the text and see what their meaning was and look at the context of that. No, it's just always bad. Always bad. Fucking retarded. 24. If you sideline every non-white character in your cast to focus on a white boy with anger issues and a tendency towards hostility getting a redemption arc, you're a huge turd. What? What do you want about? What? So... if side characters behave like side characters, and the main character is white, you're a huge turd. So, if you have non-white side characters, and the main character is white, and he's antsy and has anger issues, and he has a redemption arc and gets better, probably with the help of the side characters, right? Then you're an asshole. What? What the fuck you on about? Okay. Whatever. Okay, maybe there's like multiple main characters, and you know, you sideline the non-white ones to give the white one too much attention. But that's just bad writing, because you're not focusing on all of your main characters. That doesn't show like a fucking identity issue, or a fucking like this woke scolding bullshit would fucking be an adequate response to. Like what do you want about? 25. Justifying horny arm designs or horny clothing designs with sexual agency makes you a huge turd. Characters don't have sexual agency. You made them that way as a justification. See Rule 10. Characters don't have agency. Hot take. Fucking phenomenal writing advice. Lily Orchard's writing advice. Character agency doesn't exist. Characters behaving logically and having their own reasons and opinions and thoughts and reasons for doing shit, that doesn't exist. It's all you. You the author. You are not organically designing a character, and you don't have to write that character in a way that fits their personality or what they believe, or like, everything they do is just, you have to inject your own fucking philosophy into it. You can't have a character as an author that disagrees with you, right? What if a character that wears horny armor is like a fucking pervert who like loves being exhibitionist and all that? That make perfect sense for them to wear like a hornier armor design, maybe. Perfect fucking sense, right? That justifies in the story. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense if the fucking pure nun was wearing horny armor. Yeah, that would be fucking retarded. Wouldn't make any sense. But there are plenty of... Yeah, characters have sexual agency. Characters have plenty of agency in plenty of different ways, right? And yeah, it can make perfect fucking sense for a character to wear horny armor sometimes. Yeah, most of the time, doesn't make sense. But there are situations where, yeah, it could make sense, right? Fucking hell. Relating to the above, if your justification is to just be honest and say you like ugly, sexy characters, you're still a huge turd. Why? But slightly less of a turd than above. Slightly. Okay, well, why are you... Why is saying, like, yeah, I like hot women. I like looking at hot women. Like... Human biology is fucking... You're a turd. Like... Yeah, for being attracted to a certain type of person, you are a turd. Like, what? I mean, okay, yeah, in some cases, yeah, that is true. But, like, hey, guys, being attracted to women is wrong. Right? Hot take. Hot take. Don't worry about having everything. Number 27. Don't worry about having everything planned out beforehand. No writer or creator plans everything beforehand. And the ones who say they do are filthy liars. Writers have at least 1 to 2 story beats that are determined to include. Everything else is by the seat of their pants. Wow, an actual piece of writing advice. Not necessarily 100% accurate. Me personally, I don't like write everything out meticulously beforehand, but I pretty much know every beat of my story and every arc of what's going to happen. I just have to write it. But it's all in my head, right? But yeah, there are writers out there who fully plan through everything and have all their scenes planned out. That does happen, right? It's not necessarily the way I do things. And it's not necessarily the way that you have to do things if you want to write. Maybe you just want to write by the seat of your pants. You're a pantser writer, right? You can do that. That's perfectly fine. Write in whatever way works for you. But, you know, I wouldn't say this is good advice because, yeah, no. There are writers out there who fucking do plan everything out. Number 28. Don't try to do what Avatar did. You can't. Even the people who made Avatar can't make another show or do what Avatar did. Yeah, fairly reasonable advice. Don't. You know, it's alright to sort of borrow certain elements from shows and saying, like, I tried to do sort of what this show tried to do in this way, but just trying to make your entire work in the same vein of another show, you know, it's already been done. Like, why? Make something different or explore it in a new way. So yeah, I pretty much agree with this. 29. Low stakes interpersonal conflict will always be more satisfying in the long run than high stakes saving the world. Friends is more popular than your favorite anime for this reason. What? The fuck you on about? No. No. Okay? People love high stakes shit, okay? Look at all the most popular movies out there nowadays. You know, all I don't watch these superhero movies, right? But invariably all of these superhero movies are about high stakes shit. Saving the world, saving the city, saving the universe. People fucking love it. What do you want about? Okay, yeah, Friends is more popular than their favorite anime. But yeah, anime is like an esoteric thing. It's not like a normie mainstream thing, right? Or it kind of is now. It's becoming more mainstream. But most people don't fucking know or care about anime, right? Except for like Pokemon. And yeah, Friends, like, Friends is fucking insipid garbage. It's like, it's fucking horrible, right? But yeah, Friends is more popular because it's more mainstream. It's more people being exposed to it. And it's that sort of fucking low IQ sort of shit that people just consume mindlessly, right? That doesn't mean it's better than fucking the high stakes shit, the massive action movies, the big superhero movies that are massively popular. Now, if you want to say, I prefer low stakes conflict, I prefer sort of more slice of life-y, interpersonal drama sort of stories, perfectly valid opinion. And if you say, I prefer writing and reading those kind of stories, perfectly valid opinion. But you cannot sit here and say, as advice, always better. Always more satisfying. No. This is just your opinion. You're fucking retarded. 30. Choose whether you're a comedy or drama at the start and stick to it. Don't make a comedy and turn it into a drama later on. That just annoys people. This is just your opinion. There are tons of comedies that can turn into dramas, or tons of dramas that can turn into comedies, or tons of comedy dramas. The fuck are you on about? There are tons of people who love that. Just because you don't, that doesn't mean, oh, that just annoys people. No, that just annoys you. It annoys you, and that's fine. You can be annoyed by that, and you can not like that kind of story. But you can't sit here and say, as writing advice, you shouldn't do that. It's fucking stupid. What are you on about? 31. World building is like salt. A pinch can make it better, 10 cups it will not. This is entirely dependent on the context of the scene where you're building the world, okay? If you're spending, like, every page, or every time a character walks into a new room, there's, like, a fucking 4-page dissertation on the entire makeup of the room, then, yeah, you're probably doing a bit too much world building. But even then, maybe that's the style of story you're going for. Maybe you're writing a story that's, you know, heavily focused on world building, and sort of the characters are secondary. I don't really like reading stories like that, but if you can make it work, then by all means, right? Right? I'm not going to sit here and say, as my opinion, it's wrong for you to write a story like that. If you can make it work, if you can make it a good story, by all means. So, kind of true, but no, not really. Hold on, I dropped a bunch of shit here. I'm a fucking retard. Oh my god. So I've got to sit here and read this bullshit. I got to fucking clean up the floor. All right. What we got? Don't stay. Just fucking stay. We. All right, whatever. Later. Number 32. Characters should also always come before anything else. I happen to agree with this. I happen to believe that characters are the most important part of a story, but there can be some stories where maybe the plot is more relevant, right? Maybe you have a more plot-driven story than a character-driven story. I personally only really prefer reading character-driven stories. I find plot-driven stories to be kind of mindless and boring. They're like a good action movie, you know. You can have fun with it, but it's not really what I would consider an amazing work of fiction, right? But that's just my opinion, right? If you want to write that kind of story, if you think you can make it really work and be awesome, or you want to make a story that's more focused on world building, by all means, go ahead. Go right ahead. So, once again, just opinion. And opinion that I agree with, but once again, just opinion. Number 33. The protagonist should be a protagonist, not just a vessel for the antagonist to hog the story. If you're going to make a villain protagonist, just open with that. Yeah. Pretty much agree, yeah. You want your protagonist, if they're the protagonist, to actually have some effect on the story and the outcome of the story. You don't just want them to be along for the ride. That's not a really good protagonist, right? If you're going to do that, then yeah, just make your villain the protagonist. But, you know, maybe you just want, maybe the protagonist does have an effect on the story, but, you know, the villain kind of steals the show, and the show's more about the villain's effect on the protagonist. It's kind of like a Batman-Joker kind of thing. You know, yeah, Batman steal the protagonist. But the Joker's really fucking cool, right? so yeah, you know, decent advice, but, you know, nuance. Perspective shifts are a staple of storytelling. Having only one perspective isn't a stylistic choice. It's just crap. The fuck are you on about, you stupid cunt? There are plenty of fucking third-person stories written in only one perspective. Plenty. What if you want to tell the entire story just through the character's own eyes, right? Okay? You don't have an omniscient narrator who knows everything. You have a narrator who only knows what the character knows, and you want to write a story from that perspective, right? There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to change perspective to another character or explore some other drama somewhere else. The story can just follow one character. That can be perfectly fine. Tons of fucking stories do that. What do you mean it's just crap? This is just your opinion. And this is like the worst opinion you've had so far. It's just... Basically every writer would disagree with you on this. Every serious writer would disagree with you with this. They might even say, like, yeah, I prefer, you know, stories that have multiple perspectives. Or I only write stories that have multiple perspectives. But no serious writer who's worth their fucking salt is going to say, nope, in order for a story to be good, you have to have multiple perspectives. No, you could easily write a story with only one perspective. And a lot of stories would be injured. There'd be worse stories if you changed perspectives and didn't focus on just one perspective. So yeah, that's fucking completely retarded. What the fuck are you on about? You don't have a single fucking clue about writing a good story. 35. If you're making a cartoon, hire writers. Don't just have your storyboarders write the story. That's not what they're there for. Artists draw, writers write. Artists cannot just take over for writers on a whim. Yeah, sure, I guess. I mean, a lot of artists can write. I mean... A lot of manga artists write their own work. So, not necessarily always true, but yeah, you know, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I don't know really the field of cartoon making, storyboarding and all that shit, so I don't know how applicable this is, but yeah. Reasonable advice, I suppose. 36. Related to Rule 2. This isn't writing advice. This isn't like, here's how to write a good story. Like, what do you want about? Related to Rule 2. Will they... Won't they? Isn't a fun story. It's just addiction peddling. We need to stop pretending Ross Rachel was good storytelling and appreciate Chianda Monica. I don't know who these fucking characters are. I don't know what this context is. Will they? Won't they? Like, what do you want about? Will they? Won't they get together? Yeah, that could be a fun story. There are tons of fun stories like that. Tons of anime that are like that. You can say that you don't like stories that are like that, but that's just your opinion once again. 37. Romance trope, but gay is not an absolute rule to live by. If She-Ra taught us anything, it's that gay Raylo was not actually an improvement. I'm guessing this is talking about, like, the new She-Ra cartoon or whatever. I haven't seen any She-Ra, so I don't know what the fuck this is on about. But I think what she's trying to say here is that if you got a shitty romance trope, but you make it gay, it's not necessarily better. I mean, yeah, sure. True. But knowing her, there's probably some retarded undertone to this that I'm not getting. Number 38. Someone on this hell site once made the remark, we need more lesbian non-con because purity, is that like non-consensual? It's like lesbian rape? Like what? Because purity is boring. That is a dangerous, violent person. Do not listen to them. They do not have a point. Seriously, fucking God, what is wrong with people? Okay. People wanting to read like a kind of like... There are a lot of stories that women like to read. Like, if you've been to like a bookstore or like I mostly see this in places like Target and shit when I go to the book section. There's like a big section of like women's fiction, and it's all just like dudes with their fucking shirts off and their all the chest and all big rippling muscles and shit. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of those stories have these kind of elements that are like, there's like these fetishization of abuse or shit like that. I don't know if you know this, but women kind of like reading those stories. It's like a guilty pleasure. If people want to read those kinds of stories, and a lot of those stories, by the way, written by women. Most written by women, actually. If a woman wants to write that kind of story as like, this is like a sexual fantasy story, and it lets women live out like a sexual fantasy, perfectly fine. And if people want to read that story, perfectly fine. Do I think it necessarily makes good storytelling? I'm gonna say no. I reckon most of those books are probably fucking garbage just because they're poorly written, because, you know, they're basically smut, right? There's nothing wrong with writing smut. You want to write smut? Write some smut. Like, it's not dangerous to be like, you know, we need more lesbian, like, forceful lesbian stories. Like, yeah, okay, I wouldn't read that shit. I think that shit's fucking stupid, but people can read whatever they want. I mean, it's not dangerous to have fantasies, right? And want to read stories based on those fantasies. Okay, and most of the people, by the way, who are probably saying this are probably women, right? Probably women, by and large. Women who fetishize abuse, blah, 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 and present it as something feminist and paint detractors as misogynist are gaslighting you. Don't listen to them. Depends on the context here. I'm not sure. There's probably some nuance in these sort of pairings here that you probably counter her point. But, I mean, no, not necessarily. I mean, yeah, if there are women who are like, yeah, you know, if someone's abusing you, you should just try and stick it out and fucking do all that shit. Yeah, that's bad advice, but probably all of these things you're mentioning are not necessarily that. Also, this is not writing advice. What are you on about? You're just bitching about people. This isn't writing advice. Number 40, if abuse fetishes are giving you shit for not giving it. Oh my god, what the fuck? It's just more of your bullshit. No, this is just like you getting pissed off at people. Like, this isn't writing advice. Fucking hell. Rape victims are not villains and should never be written as villains. Don't be like Blizzard. It costs $0 to not be a misogynistic pig. If you are a rape victim, you cannot be a bad person. Guys, listen to me very carefully, okay? It doesn't matter if you go out and fucking kill 40,000 people, just murder them, and for no reason, just, yeah, because I just want to kill people. I just enjoy it. If you're a rape victim, you're not a villain, right? Can't possibly be a villain, okay? Okay? No possible way, right? And I know what she's trying to say here. Well, just don't write them as a rape victim. Okay, but what if that actually makes sense in context of a story? What if you have a character that is, you know, a sexual abuser, and it turns out that, you know, they're sexually abusive because they were sexually abused in the past, and that sort of turned them into the person they are, which happens quite a lot actually in real life. Yeah, they're still a villain. They're also a victim. You can be both, you fucking retard. What are you on about? This is just factually incorrect. Why should they never be written as villains? Why? Why? Why is it impossible for them to be villains? If straight men really hate a certain character, but lesbians love them, there's a 90% chance that is your best character. Why? What if it's like a lesbian fan servicey character, and yeah, lesbians love it, but most other people look at it and go, you know, I don't like this character, it's stupid. And it just shows that lesbians love the character. It doesn't mean that it resonates with most people. If one of your writers believes Simone, okay, from whatever the fuck, was misunderstood and Grace is the villain, okay. This is probably some more, like, anti-nuance shit, where people are probably, I don't know the context of this, I don't know who Simone and Grace are from Infinity Train, whatever. But there's probably some nuance shit where people are like, wait, was Simone really the villain? I mean, maybe Grace was the villain, maybe Simone kind of had a point, maybe... That is a sign of good writing. That is a sign of excellent writing. If you can make a villain where it's like, hey, you know, villain kind of has a point, you know, his means don't justify his ends, in my opinion, but like I can kind of see where the villain's coming. That's a good fucking villain. That's not a bad villain. This, you are describing right here a good story, not a bad story. The fuck you on about? Stupid fucking insipid cunt. I can't believe this shit, man. I didn't think I'd be, like, I read through these and I was like, wow, this is dumb. I didn't think I'd be this angry, like, actually going through them and, like, going through them in depth. What the fuck? Number 44. The best solution to a love triangle is polygamy. That's just your fucking opinion. That's just your opinion. It's literally just your fucking opinion, bitch. It's not the best solution. Why is my fucking camera focus, you piece of shit? That's just your fucking... It's just your opinion. That's not writing advice. You can write a love triangle that's good. Okay? Like Nisekoi. That's a good, like a good love triangle. It's a good story. I like it. Right? You don't have to have a polygamous story for it to be a fucking good love triangle. That's just your fucking opinion. That's not writing advice. If you have a male character who actually shows respect and admiration to a woman, and some viewers call that character a simp, there is a 90% chance that you have a good character. Okay, no, not necessarily. Okay, not necessarily. Maybe the character is a fucking simp. Okay, maybe the character is with an abusive wife or an abusive girlfriend, and, you know, no matter how much they're subtly abusing, you know, this male character, this like, I respect her and I treat her with respect because she's a woman, and, you know, I'm always gonna... Yeah, he's a fucking simp. He's being abused and he's fucking going along with it. I thought you were against that shit, or when it happens the other way around, that's not a bad thing, right? That's one context where, yeah, a lot of people would call a character a simp, right? Or if a character was just like, I'm just gonna latch onto women for, like, a sense of fucking, you know, personal fucking, like, you know, to make myself feel better because I can't, you know, go out there and actually find women for myself. Like, yeah, that character probably a simp, alright? Doesn't mean they're a bad person, doesn't mean they're a bad character. They could be written in that way to prove a point about something, right? But no, there's not a 90% chance there's a good character. It just means that a lot of people probably think that character's a simp. And, you know, probably a lot of them are wrong. There are a lot of people who are called simps who aren't. So, yeah. But that doesn't mean that they're a good character, necessarily. I don't even want to read this one. My blood pressure is like fucking 400 over 600 at the moment. Like, I'm gonna fucking stroke out here, man. Mary Sue is not a real criticism. It's thinly veiled misogyny. Always disregard it. One of the #1 pieces of writing advice that you are going to hear from basically anybody who is giving writing advice will be, don't make your character a Mary Sue. Which is, by the way, pretty much, that's a gender-neutral term, okay? Yeah, it's mainly used to refer to, like, princess main female characters, but it can also be a male character who has, like, no flaws and is just perfect. It's a character who is not flawed. Very often a self-insert for the author. Not flawed, doesn't really struggle. If they do struggle, they overcome everything easily. That is a Mary Sue. That is a very real fucking criticism. What the fuck are you on about? Always disregard it if someone calls your character a Mary Sue? Should that fucking Norman Butane faggot who wrote that Empress Teresa, which is the fucking worst, one of the worst books ever written, with a character who's blatantly a Mary Sue, oh, I'm just gonna disregard that. No, your character is a Mary Sue. She has no fucking flaws. She solves every problem easily. Whenever a problem props up that she can't solve, it's always solved in some fucking weird Deus Machina way. Mary Sue is a perfectly valid fucking criticism. Can it be misapplied? Yes, it can be misapplied. I know what you're saying, you know, Rey being a Mary Sue. Yeah, she kind of is, but no, I don't know. I don't fully subscribe to that, right? I don't fully subscribe to that criticism. So yeah, sometimes it's not a real criticism, sometimes it's factually incorrect. But no, always disregard it. You are fucking retarded. Yeah, great piece of writing advice, guys. Always regard one of the #1 pieces of writing advice, which is don't make your character a Mary Sue. Fucking retard. Unbelievable. Number 47. Emotional vulnerability does not make a female character anti-feminist. Yeah. Sure. I agree. Once again, that's not writing advice. It's just your opinion, but yeah, I agree. I'm sure that there are some, like, hardcore feminists who are like, no, we have to fucking always be strong and not emotionally vulnerable so we can fucking stand up to the patriarchy. Yeah, I'm sure there are people like that out there, but yeah, I mean, like, it's not writing advice, it's just your opinion. An opinion that I agree with, yes, but fuck you on about? Like, I exist in a realm of endless pain and suffering. Goblins are inherently anti-Semitic. No, they're not. Wait, I was just gonna leave it at that, but no, how? How? Explain that to me. You can't just drop that fucking bombshell and then just be like, yeah. That stands on its own. I don't need to justify that. Like, why? How? Next, number 49. If your first thought when told about a bigoted trope, bury your gays, goblins is not a... Oh, the very anti-Semitic anime, Goblin Slayer. Yep, when I was watching Goblin Slayer and, you know, Goblin Slayer was fucking killing the war of goblins, I'm like, yeah, damn right, get those kike Goblin Slayer, fucking kill them all. What the fuck you want about? If your first thought when taught about a bigoted trope is to try and figure out how to do it well, you are a huge turd who is missing the point. It's not one of those tropes that aren't done well, it's at the... Okay, no, next. Fucking... You're retarded. I don't need... Anyone who fucking subscribes to what you're saying here is just not worthy of my time even explaining. 50. Writing a relationship based on a dynamic, or trying to get a particular trope, i.e. enemies to lovers into the story, is a bad decision. I wonder if she would have the same opinion if it was friends to lovers. No, it's only about things she doesn't like. If you go into a story thinking, you know what, I really want to write an enemies to lovers story. Nope, don't do that. You want to know that's a bad story. You want to know that because Lily doesn't like it. Lily doesn't like it, so it's a bad story, and you're a bad person for writing it. Fuck off. If you want to write a story, and you want to be like, in this story, I'm going to explore this kind of relationship, or this relationship dynamic, perfectly valid fucking reason to write a story. What's wrong with that? Just because you don't like it? This is very apropos. This is very relevant right now. Vitriol does not immediately render criticism invalid. If you tone police criticism, you will likely miss something important. Wow, this stupid fucking brain-dead cunt made a good point. Yeah. Vitriol does not render criticism invalid. That's true. It means that people are less likely to listen to criticism, sure. But, yeah, if someone's angry and says, you know, your story is shit, or your writing tips are shit, just because they're being vitriolic doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong or that their criticism is invalid, okay? Ad hominem is only a fallacy if you attack the person instead of the argument. If you attack the person and the argument, it's not an ad hominem, not a fallacy, okay? Yeah, I agree. That's actually good advice for dealing with criticism as a writer. Number 52, your fandom will fight and argue. This is how people solve conflicts. It's typically better to let people fight it out rather than be complacent and beg people to just stop fighting. Yeah, sure, I agree with that. I mean, if your fandom's having a tizzy, just let them have a tizzy. That's fucking how they go. 53, related to the above. Every headcanon is valid, should never leave your mouth. Wait, hold on. So, just let your fandom do whatever they want. But also, don't let your fandom do whatever they want. Okay. Do you want pedophiles and fascists in your fan base? Because that's how you get pedophiles and fascists in your fan base. Okay. Every headcanon is valid. Like, define valid. Okay. Headcanons are just like people's shipping ideas, right? Just how people ship characters. Yeah. They're not valid or invalid. They're just opinions. Okay. They're just opinions. That's it. Okay. You could say, oh yeah, you know, these ones here, these are bad ones, okay? And sure, whatever. I'd agree with you on that. But that doesn't mean that's just opinion, right? That's just fucking moral opinion. Valid has nothing to do with it. People have opinions on headcanons and shipping. This isn't writing advice. What do you want about? 54. Speaking out against abuse fetishes. We're on with this shit again. So, once again, you're saying here, like, oh no, yeah, just, you know, let your fandom just argue things out. But also get involved if they do things that I don't like. You're not even consistent within fucking 2 questions. Within two fucking pieces of advice. What the fuck are you on about? 55. Fan service is a concept that you should never think about. Fans need to be service are not actually fans. If you have fans, those fans are already having fun and don't need to be pandered to. Okay, but what if you, like, specifically create, like, a fan service kind of anime, you know? Or fan service show? What if the whole purpose of a show is, like, fucking chicks and fucking big jiggly titties and big bodacious asses fighting evil, you know? Like, that's an integral part of the show. If you suddenly made a new version of the show without that, it'll be like, what the fuck? This isn't that show. This is something else. Why don't they just make something else? It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, like, inserting fan service for no reason, actually good advice, you know? If it was like, this is a perfectly normal story, perfectly valid story. Suddenly sex scene for no reason. Suddenly the main character is gonna fucking take off her top and ogle her titties for no reason. Yeah, okay. Agree. That's shit. It's weird, it's out of place, it doesn't make any sense. But if your story is a fan service story, then yeah. So yeah, kind of good advice, but also nuance. 56. The tendency for shipping to dominate discourse is the biggest sign that characters and their relationships are more satisfying than anything else. People didn't petition for a 4th season of Kim Possible to see what happened with Dragon or to see new villains. No, it just means that people are fucking horny. Okay? People are horny as fuck. I don't know, like, you're a human, I presume, right? The fact that you're trans doesn't mean you're not human. So, like, you're like, you have, like, sexual urges, right? You're horny. You're a horny person. Most people are, right? So naturally, like, this whole fanon shit, it revolves a lot around, you know, making porn out of the series or shipping and shit like that, right? And exploring the dynamic between characters and, you know, right? So, yeah, characters and their relationships are important, right? There are big parts of stories. They are, you know, a huge part of stories. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that's because shipping is fucking a huge part of it. That's just because people are horny. They like shipping, right? But yeah, I agree overall. Like, characters and relationships are, they're not necessarily more satisfying than anything else. It depends on the story you're writing. If you're writing a character-driven story, yeah. If you're not writing a more plot-driven story, probably the massive fight with the dragon is more exciting, right? And more satisfying. But, once again, it depends on the story you're writing. Nuance. That fucking N-word, man. 57. Complaints about too much negativity is shooting the messenger. If there is an overabundance of negativity, that means there are things to be negative about. People cannot be positive without things to be positive about. Okay, but people can be negative about stupid shit, right? Like, what you're basically trying to say is, like, all criticism is valid. Like, no, not some criticism is stupid. Some criticism does not make sense. Some criticism can be easily rebutted. Not all criticism is valid. So, no. 58. If you do something bigoted and get yelled at for it, listen to the people yelling at you. Cancel culture isn't real. The rage and vitriol will be gone in 2 weeks, and you'll be a better person for it. Getting yelled at stopped being the end of the world at age 10. Kind of agree. No, not really. I mean, like, there are authors who get quote-unquote cancelled. Now, look, for someone like me, if I was to get cancelled, that would be like the best time of my life. I'd have so much fun trolling people. But not everyone is like me, right? Most people will see, like, all this negative attention and go, oh, I'm so sorry, I must have done something wrong. Even if they've not done anything wrong. Even if the thing that they're being bigoted about isn't actually bigotry, right? Because people can accuse you of being a bigot without you being a bigot. People can see bigotry where bigotry doesn't exist. And then what you're basically saying is don't defend yourself. Right, just listen. Listen, yes. Be a simp. Oh my god. 59. We still got like 40 more of these to go. Fuck my life. The quickest and easiest way to make yelling... What? The quickest and easiest way to make yelling stop. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm retarded. To make yelling stop is to own up to the mistake. Don't make excuses. Don't defend yourself. Don't defend yourself. Never do that. Fix it, never repeat it. Progressives are very forgiving if you give them results. Stubbornness is what gets people cancelled. No. Never apologize to the mob. Even if you believe you are wrong, do not apologize to a cancel culture mob. Okay? Do not do that shit. It is literally of no benefit to you. It can only hurt you. Apologizing does not do a single fucking thing. It does not help you. It makes things worse. Even if, from your own personal values, you think that an apology would be necessary, don't do it. It's not worth it. Okay? Do not. And especially don't apologize if you think you've done nothing wrong. Never do that shit. That's just a good lesson for life right there. Never fucking do that shit. Okay? The only exception is, like, if it's something that literally just doesn't matter at all and you're trying to, like, avoid a fight or some shit. Like, I play poker at pubs, and there could be some hot-headed pricks at the table, and they'll see, like, some slight in what I've done, and I'll apologize for it. I don't mean it, but it's not a fucking big deal. It's not something significant. It's not like an indictment on my morality. I just don't want to fucking have a bar fight, which is what would happen if I told that person to fuck off, right? So, that's not the case online, okay? Just don't apologize for shit that you didn't do anything fucking wrong in. Don't do that shit. Forced diversity is a right-wing dog whistle, not a criticism. I mean, yeah, a lot of the time it is, alright? When the fucking margaritards have a meltdown over a gay kiss, or a fucking gay character, or a trans character in the movie, yeah, they're fucking stupid. But there's also shit where it's like, I'm just gonna fucking shoehorn in this black, gay, trans character here for no reason that makes no sense or no relevance to the story, or their identity doesn't make sense in the context of the story. That is forced diversity. That is shit. That is garbage. Making something diverse for the sake of it being diverse, not only is that just insulting, it should insult. I don't know why people aren't insulted about being pandered to in that way. I can't understand it myself. But it is forced diversity. It's awkward. It just shows a clear agenda in your story writing. It shows that you're not interested in making a good story. You're just interested in preaching. It's shit. Don't do that. But yeah, the fucking right-wing retards, the conservatives who have fucking apoplectic shit fits whenever there's a fucking gay character in a story. Yeah, they're retarded. I agree with that. Reclaimed slurs are not universal, and as such should never be included in a work. Fuck you! That's just your opinion. That's literally just your opinion. You do not speak for fucking all members of, like, minority group, or people who have slurs used again. You don't speak for them. There are tons of fucking people, gay people, who reclaim the word faggot. There are tons of fucking black people call themselves niggers. The fuck you on about? They literally reclaim that word for themselves. And yeah, like, if you use it against them, it's no bueno, don't do that shit. But yeah, you can reclaim words. And also, like, if slurs make sense in the context of your story, you can use them. You should use them. Your story will be worse if you don't. If you're setting a story in fucking slavery-era America, and the fucking white slave owners are not being like, nigger, get over there and pick my cotton. That's how they talk back then. That's historically accurate. That makes sense. Like, what? Okay, whatever. Oh, let's just move on. Fucking 62. Oppressing people fighting against their oppressors are not villain. Well, okay, wait, hold on. Oppressed people fighting against their oppressors are not villains. No, I don't care if you think they went too far. Not all of those who respond with violence are wrong, and not all of those who preach non-violence are right to do so. Hold on, am I reading this correctly? Oppressed people fighting against their oppressors are not villains. No, I don't care if you think they went too far. What if they went too fucking far? Okay? What if, you're a gay person who's being oppressed for being gay, and you're not being given equal rights, and, you know, to strike back against your oppressors, you, go into an orphanage and murder 200 orphans. That's not a fucking appropriate response to your oppression, you retard. That's you going too fucking far. So what do you want about that person? That character would not be a villain in that story? I mean, maybe there's some, like, nuanced take on it, like, whatever, but in general, that character would be portrayed as a villain. Okay? What the fuck you on about? Yes, oppressed people can go too far in fighting back against their oppressors. Historically, that has been accurate. Okay? Fucking, if the Jews in Nazi Germany escaped from their camps and as retribution fucking rounded up German citizens and threw them in camps and gassed them, yeah, that is them fighting back against their oppressors. That's also going too fucking far, in my opinion. In my moral opinion. Okay? So yeah, they can be villains. Right? What the fuck you on about? Of course they can be villains. Fucking stupid. What the... I've already said that you have no fucking idea about how to write a good story, and your morality is fucking abhorrent. Related to the above, A good spin on the heroes who never kill mantra is to highlight how refusing to kill a villain who later goes on to kill more innocent people makes the hero responsible for those deaths. There's a free story theme for you. What? So, what, like Batman? Like, literally Batman? You're presenting this as like, wow, here's a story theme for you. From my mind, from my brilliant mind to yours. This has never been done before. It's been done plenty of times. What do you want about? Yeah, that would make a good story if you wrote it well. But what is it? Okay, sure. You're amazing, Lily. 64. If you're writing fantasy and have no issues having dragons in the world, but suddenly think the people of color are unrealistic because something medieval Europe, you're a huge turd and... Oh my god. Okay. Part of the folklore of medieval Europe, part of the setting of the historical period of medieval Europe, was that people genuinely believed that there were dragons, okay, and that there were monsters in the hills. They genuinely believed that shit, you understand? So yeah, if you're writing a fantasy story, you're saying, hey, what if those actually were real? And I'm setting it in this medieval period where the dragons actually are real, okay? It makes sense in the folklore that there would be dragons in a medieval setting, right? Okay? Doesn't make any fucking sense that there will be a bunch of Africans in that story. In medieval Europe. Makes no fucking sense. It'd be just like if you wrote a story about a Nigerian gang fighting against another Nigerian gang, and that other Nigerian gang happens to be made up of white people. They're all white. Now, okay, maybe the story would be like, okay, you know, they're like an international cartel or something, but if it was like Nigerian gang versus Nigerian gang, probably they're all going to be black people. Right? Sorry, I've got Who Killed Captain Alex in my head. That was Uganda, but you know, same shit. Great movie, by the way. Go watch Who Killed Captain Alex. Phenomenal movie. But yeah, that would be like watching Who Killed Captain Alex, and then suddenly there's a bunch of white people in Uganda. It's like, doesn't make any sense. It's set in Uganda. It's Ugandans fighting each other. It's going to be mostly black people. Yeah, sure. I mean, it would make sense that there might be a white person in that story because, you know, there are white people in Uganda. But no, there weren't black people in medieval Europe. Okay? Okay, maybe there were somewhere, but no, in general, there were no fucking black people in medieval Europe. So it would not make sense if you want to make an authentic medieval Europe setting to include black people in that setting. Just like it wouldn't make sense if fucking, like, to put a white person from 2000 in, like, a Neolithic setting and have them be like, oh, yeah, you know, Thag go smash rock. Ooh, Thag see John Smith with his briefcase. It wouldn't make any sense, right? Would not make any fucking sense. You're an idiot, by the way. Yeah, fucking schoolyard insult right there. 64. Sexual tension and chemistry are not the only indicators of a potential relationship, and in a relationship is the quickest thing to fade. Not necessarily. But yeah, I mean, sure, they're not the only indicator of a potential relationship. There are other things, sure. 66. The best friend of a romantic partner for a character... No, sorry, the best potential romantic partner for a character is her best friend. They're best friends for a reason. This is just your opinion. Next. 67. I don't want X character to be defined by her relationships is a stupid philosophy to have. Everyone is defined by their relationships. That's how human beings work. Yeah, kind of agree with this. Unless you want it to be like, you know, I don't want this character to necessarily have to always hold on to their relationships and have that be relevant in every situation in their life. Sure. But, yeah, most people are defined by their relationships with other people and the world around them. So, yeah, it is kind of a stupid criticism to have. That is how human beings work. Actually agree. Sure, actually agree. 68. If you don't want a character to only be remembered for a romantic subplot, don't end the story on that subplot reaching its conclusion. Give it time to sink in and become the new normal for the viewer. Oh, just your opinion, once again. You like stories that have a drawn-out romance thing where, you know, they're together after the romance and it explores their relationship after they get together. That's fine. You can like stories like that. Not everyone likes stories like that. Not everyone likes writing stories like that. Some people want to write stories about the journey towards relationship and have it end with the relationship happening. Those stories are fine, okay? There's nothing wrong with them. 68. Slow burn does not mean taking forever to get together. It means full series long romantic subplot. Getting together is the start of it. Just your fucking, your fetish for like, I want to see the characters together. And any character, any story that doesn't explore the characters in depth after they get together for at least 500 pages afterwards is a bad story. That's just your opinion. That's stories you like to read. Go read those stories. That doesn't mean stories that don't do that are bad stories, okay? Fucking hell. Fucking hell, I'm gonna cry. This is so fucking annoying. Sexual awakening is not a real character arc. Why? That's just a declarative statement. You've just declared something and just left it there. Like, what? Extrapolate. Fucking elaborate. Fucking deliberate. Explain. Explain to me why this is the case. Make an argument. Because otherwise this is just your opinion. Again, you haven't actually made, like, this could potentially be a piece of writing advice if you presented an argument for it. Probably be a piece of bad writing advice, but no, this is just your opinion. It's not a real character arc. Why? Why would a character's sexual awakening not be a character's journey into being like, oh, I'm a sexual being. You know, maybe I was suppressing my sexual feelings, but now how is that not a character arc? You could easily make a character arc out of that. Anything can be a fucking character arc. Like, what? The only people who think that boob armor makes sense are people who have never touched a boob. Well, I mean, in some cases, boob armor can kind of make sense. I mean, you know, especially if you have big boobs. I mean, you're not exactly going to be able to wear a fucking male set of plate armor. But yeah, I would say probably in general, boob armor doesn't make sense. I don't see why there's people who've never touched a boob criticism. It's just like, people who know about armor would realize that in most cases it doesn't make sense. But yeah, sure. The bow and arrow are strength weapons, not dexterity weapons. Female characters who do archery should naturally be very physically strong. Longbows have a draw weight of 8 to 150 pounds. Rangers are always stronger than warriors. Deal with it. What? Rangers are always strong. Okay, I don't know about this. I don't know about archery. But rangers are always stronger than warriors? No. It takes a lot more strength to fucking swing around a giant fucking battle hammer made of marble or fucking granite or something than it does to fucking pull a bow. I've done some archery before. Yeah, you know, it takes strength to fucking pull a bow. But, like, plenty of women can do it. I don't think... most women probably wouldn't be able to fucking put on a full set of fucking plate armor and carry a big fucking battle hammer and a giant shield. I mean, if they really worked out and worked towards it, then yeah, they could. But chances are most of the people doing that are going to be men. So, yeah. Because, you know, men are biologically, physically stronger than women. That's just a fact. That doesn't mean that, you know, Ronda Rousey could fucking kick my ass. But in general, you know, that's just the reality of life and biology. 73. The best way to... Oh, by the way, this is not writing advice. It's just retardation and just your personal opinion bullshit. 73. The best way to avoid tokenism is multiple characters. Okay, so once again, you know, just make multiple garbage characters that you're not going to explore just for the sake... Like, that is tokenism right there. That is fucking tokenism. I don't want to be accused of being token. Or making a token character. So I am going to fucking make a bunch of token characters to show how this one character is not a token character. Because look, there's multiple other token characters. You're so fucking dumb, it's unreal. An easy way to become more accustomed to diverse casts, limit your straight white cis characters to one of each. Those can be 3 characters for each trait, or pack it into 1 character, but only 1 of each. If you're writing a story set with, you know, realistic humans based on humans in, like, the modern day, the vast majority of them are going to be straight and cis. Because most people are straight and cis. Okay? Fact. Doesn't mean that gay people are not valid, or that trans people aren't valid. Just means that most people are that way. So logically, just like in life, just like if I go into a room filled with 100 people, I can logically say most of them are going to be straight and cis. White, I mean, it depends on where I am. You know, maybe if I'm in Africa, most of them will probably be black. If I'm here in Australia, most of them are going to be white. But most of them are going to be straight and cis no matter where I am, pretty much. So, yeah, if you're writing a story in that context, most characters are going to be straight and cis. If you're writing an alternate world where there are tons more gay and trans and fucking whatever, then yeah, okay, that makes sense. Sure. Maybe you're writing in a world where straight people are the minority. In that case, it would be really weird for there to be a bunch of fucking straight people hanging around. You'd logically expect most people to be gay. Or trans, or whatever. But if you're writing based on, you know, our reality and how human beings are in real life, most people are going to be straight and cis. So if you have a cast of 10 characters, and only one of them is straight, and only one of them is cis, and it's like, this is meant to be set in kind of like a real world kind of thing, or the characters are kind of based on how people are in real life, wouldn't make much fucking sense. It'd be really weird. It would be forced diversity. Number 75. Don't be afraid of failure and backlash. If someone is screaming at you at how a character you made is racist, that is literally free writing advice that someone's given at you. Look at the bright side of life for a change. What? Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. You're right, okay? It is advice, right? It is advice, but it's bad advice, okay? If someone is giving you bad advice, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look at the bright side of that. Okay, here's a piece of advice. Hey, rape victims, just don't wear slutty clothing, right? Just don't wear slutty clothing, right? Yeah, there's some advice. Hey, oh, you're depressed? Why don't you just, like, have you tried not being sad? Just stop being sad, man. Yeah, that's my advice. Just stop being sad. Hey, look on the bright side. At least I'm giving you advice. No! If someone's giving you bad advice, you tell them to fuck off. What are you on about? And by the way, you're the one screaming at people about things being racist and shit. Like, so no, it makes sense that you would make this argument in that case. So, fuck you. I'm getting tired. I'm getting so tired of this. We need to hurry this up. Fucking hell. An hour and 11 minutes. Fuck me. People of color and LGBTA people. Notice this. I noticed this my first reading through. Look at this acronym here. You're going to notice that it's different from how it's normally spelt. That's going to be relevant in just a moment. People of color and LGBTA people are allowed to just exist. Don't feel like you have to cover bigotry just because they're in the story. In fact, people will be happier if you don't, because having these characters defined by suffering itself is a tired trope. Well, first of all, a lot of people in your ilk will not be happy. They will think that, no, you have to cover these issues if you write these characters, so don't think that you're correct in that, because a lot of people will be very unhappy. But yeah, in general, yeah, you don't have to make the story about bigotry. That's true. They are just allowed to exist. It's fine. If you want to write a story about how they go through bigotry, that's fine. If you want to write a story where they just exist and they just are, you know who they are, then fine. Either way is valid. 77. I just want my readers, viewers to have fun is an excellent attitude when it comes to storytelling. Sure. Sure. I mean, if you want to make, you know, just like an action flick where it's just like, yep, it's all about the plot of the story and it's all just about big fun and, you know, you just want to watch it and watch things blow up, and I personally don't think that's probably a very good movie in my opinion, but if you enjoy it, that's what you want to watch, you just want to sit down and be like, I just want to watch a popcorn flick tonight, yeah, that's fine. I wouldn't say it's an excellent attitude to have. I think you're probably better off making a story that's a little bit better, but sure, if you just want to make a story that's just meant to be fun, by all means, but don't present it to me as like, this is an amazing piece of literature, right? In my opinion, at least. As a general rule, slice of life has always been more popular genre than action-adventure. Okay, this is just wrong. Maybe amongst women, yes. But amongst men, at least, men prefer action-adventure. Men do like slice of life. Women also like action. Action-adventure is exciting. People love those kinds of stories. And yeah, people also love slice of life. But what's your evidence that there's been a more popular genre? As a general rule, no. The people who like both genres. And you can see the ratio here that people obviously don't agree with you. Oh, wait, no, sorry, not the ratio. I keep thinking it's comments, my bad. Feature creep is a problem in storytelling as well. You don't have to cram every single idea, reference, and homage you can think of into a story. You can save ideas for another time. Yeah. Good piece of writing advice. Can't argue with that. D&D alignment charts are terrible metrics for character design. They're meant to be quick reference for implementation in a tabletop RPG environment and shouldn't be taken outside that environment. No, they're kind of a good initial basis for character designs, because they encompass so many different types of characters. I wouldn't say that they're terrible metrics, no, but obviously you want to extrapolate past them as well. So, kind of bad advice, kind of good advice. When writing LGBTA characters, notice the missing letter there. Stay as far away from Rocky Horror Picture Show as you possibly can. Some gay people hold it up as a meaningful part of our culture. It is not. It is a trans-misogynistic nightmare made by actual turf, not a reference guide for anything. Hot take. Lily Orchard is the arbiter of what gay people should see as good and as affirming of their worldview. If Lily Orchard doesn't like it, too bad. No. You're a gay person or you're a trans person. You feel empowered by Rocky Horror Picture Show. No, you're a bad person. It's not. You're wrong. You and your feelings are not valid. Fuck you, bitch. You don't speak for fucking anybody else. Maybe this is true. I don't know. Maybe it was written by an actual turf. But maybe someone watches fucking Rocky Horror Show, is inspired by it, writes a really good progressive story about trans people. It can happen. Maybe there are fucking trans people who love the Rocky Horror Picture Show and love fucking talking about it and think that it really empowers them and affirms them, right? That doesn't mean that they're fucking wrong, right? It just means they have a different opinion to you, right? A different opinion about a subjective opinion about a piece of media, about how good it is. Here we go. Here's what I was fucking foreshadowing. The Q slur. the Q slur. Hold on. I wonder what the Q slur is. Here, let me give you a hint.
Fucking quiz!
The Q slur, as a concept, tacitly reinforces heteronormativity by casting LGBTA, not LGBTQA, people as inherently strange. In no big deal representation, the word should be avoided. Normalizing LGBTA people and the Q slur are like oil and water, and don't go together. Once again, Lily Orchard, arbiter of what gay people think, an arbiter of what gay people should feel. Tons of gay people self-describe as queer. Tons of gay people in your SJW ilk circle. And by the way, I'm not using the word SJW lightly, okay? I don't use it to refer to fucking any left-wing person, okay? I'm a fucking left-wing person. I'm a considerably left-wing person. But Lily is a fucking quintessential SJW, okay? Ratio. Yeah, the people, it's not a slur, you fucking retard. Tons of gay people use the word queer to describe themselves and to describe their gay brothers and sisters, so don't... Okay, yeah, you can have an opinion, you can not like it yourself, but... Fucking hell. Rape is an unforgivable crime, more so than killing. Killing can be potentially justified in a story without becoming a villain. Rape cannot. Okay, yeah, in general, sure, but, like, what if it's like... You know, two characters are put into a room. The room is about to be filled with toxic gas, and the evil villain says, Character 1, if you want to live, if you want both of you to live, you must rape Character 2. If you do not rape Character 2, then I will flood this room with poison gas and you will both die a horrible death. If you do, I will let you live. I mean, yeah, in that case, I would say the rape's pretty justified. In that case, sorry, I would say, okay, yeah, completely unrealistic scenario, but yeah, I would say it's probably forgivable in that scenario, okay? Okay? Yeah, in general, though, yeah. Yeah, not something that can ever really be justified, I agree. But, you know, nuance. 84, sex scenes are never necessary. You want to include one just because you're horny, then more power to you, but any attempt to justify is important to the story will only get you laughed at. Sex is like a part of life and relationships, okay? So, a sex scene, you can do so much with a sex. Yeah, you can just have it be fucking horny fat material, right? Sure, you can do that. But, you know, describing the intimacy of the characters and how they touch each other and how they interact with each other and how, you know, the mannerisms in which they have sex. You know, that's such great potential for storytelling, and it can bring out so much about who the characters are and what they feel and how they think, and, you know, whether they're gentle or they're more rough or stuff like that. Like, you can absolutely write amazing sex scenes, and they can absolutely be, nothing is necessary, but fucking, you know, they're not bad just because they're there. They're not just automatically fat material. Like, that's, just because something can be fat too doesn't mean it's bad. Like, you know. Strong characters can still cry and need support from others. Vulnerability is not a character flaw. I mean, yeah, I agree with that personally, but maybe in the context of the story, it is a character flaw. Maybe a character is overly emotional. And that is a character flaw. Or overly vulnerable. That is a character flaw. So, yeah, in general, I'll say that a degree of vulnerability is not a character flaw, both in a story and in a person in real life. But it can be sometimes. 87. Peak TV, a fancy word, way of saying addiction-fueled misery porn. Peak TV, as far as I know, is like TV shows made between like 2010-ish and now. I do agree that most of that is vapid garbage, and a lot of that is misery porn and like poverty porn. But not all of it is, so yeah, that's dumb. That's not writing advice either. It's just, once again, you just moralizing and fucking bloviating about your opinions. 87. Addiction-based storytelling relies on serialization, cliffhangers, shocking twists, constantly raised stakes, and obsession with foreshadowing to get people to watch, not because they're enjoying themselves, but because they're stuck on attention high. Addiction-based storytelling. So, like, basically stories that, like, keep you hooked in with, like, cliffhangers and like, constantly raising stakes, and, you know... No, those are exciting stories. Those are tense stories. People... Like, what is this? Like, People don't watch things they don't enjoy. You do realize that, right? People aren't gonna... If people aren't enjoying a story anymore, they won't watch the story anymore. Okay? Right? That's how it is. Okay? I've watched so many anime where I've literally been, like, 8 episodes in of, like, a 13-episode anime, and I'll just be like, this is boring now. I'm not enjoying myself. Next. I don't care. They can be setting up all the cliffhangers they can. What's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? Who's gonna do this? Who's gonna get together with her? Who's gonna die here? Who's gonna die? If I want to know that, I can just look it up. Right? If I'm bored, I'm not going to watch the show. People don't watch it because they're on attention high. They just can't help themselves. They're just hopelessly addicted. They watch it because they fucking enjoy it. 87 part 2. Oh my god. By the end, the viewer is only watching for closure because they're already invested. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're watching it because they enjoy it. The same business model that soap operas use. Yes, the people who enjoy those fucking vapid, boring, garbage soap operas genuinely enjoy them. Okay? I think they have poor taste in shows, right? But that doesn't mean they're not enjoying them when they watch them, okay? If the sunk cost fallacy didn't exist, shows like Steve... No, people... Sunk cost fallacy is with shit like gambling and fucking and other shit like that, okay? If you don't like watching a show, you won't watch the show anymore. Okay? That's just fact. People watch stuff because they enjoy it. Someone sitting in front of a slot machine going shing, shing, shing. They're probably not happy with their lives if they're addicted to it. Okay? Someone who's watching a show, there's no addiction with that, okay? It's fucking stupid. It's not Game of Thrones I don't watch Steven Universe or Game of Thrones. I can't comment, but in general, no. Okay, maybe there's fucking some people out there who have something with like an addiction where they just can't stop watching. But no, most people, if they get bored, they'll stop watching. That's why people they go to great fucking lengths to not make their shit boring. And it's why just making shit purely addictive, like a slot machine or gambling, doesn't work with movies and TV and books. Hardcore fans will tell you that continuity is the most important thing. They're wrong. What? Like continuity, like, you know, the story like logically making sense as it goes along, or like a story continuing. Okay, I mean, sure. I mean, if it's the second one, sure, I guess. You don't have to have something. It's okay for a story to end. All right, you don't need to keep carrying on with the story. Like, you know, if Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling kept making Harry Potter books, and there were fucking 40 Harry Potter books by now. So okay. Sure, it's fine for a story to end. But if you mean it in the first way, then yeah, I mean, continuity is pretty important. Okay, whatever. I don't even understand what you're trying to say there. Number 90. This is too political is a complaint only made by conservatives when it... You're wrong. I'm on the first line of this and you're wrong. When a story acknowledges that non-white and non-straight people exist, the existence of other kinds of people is not political. Ignore these complaints. Okay. Wait, hold on. Ignore the complaints? What happened to, like, listen to all criticism? Okay? If a bunch of people are saying that your story is too political, I mean, that's free writing advice, right? You should listen to it. That's what you said before. Okay, so number 1, yeah. A lot of conservatives are fucking retarded. Most conservatives are fucking retarded in this regard. They see, like, a fucking black character or a non-white character where, you know, it makes sense for them to be in the story, or, you know, it doesn't not make sense for them to be in the story. And they're like, oh my god, I'm a fucking forced diversity, I'm a fucking political... Yeah, they're fucking retarded. Yeah, disregard those retards. But yeah, you can also make things too political. If you have a story that's kind of apolitical in its message, and you suddenly inject politics into it for just no reason, just out of the blue, then yeah, that is a valid criticism to say, like, well, where did this come from? Like, what's the point here? So, yeah, it's not only a complaint made by conservatives. People can make that complaint legitimately. The Little Mermaid and Cinderella are more feminist than Beauty and the Beast. Okay, once again, just a declarative statement. Just this, and that stands on its own. I mean, explain your opinion, please. Which, once again, this is not writing advice. This is just your opinion. I haven't seen any of these movies in like 10 years, so I can't really comment. But yeah, okay, whatever. Number 92. I've just given up at this point. I know, like, the quality of my criticism has just gone down, but she's just repeating the same bullshit, and I'm just like, okay, we've got 8 more left, or 9 more left. Let's just get over. Let's finish it. If you want to know when to change a trans character's pronouns in the narration, doing so at the moment where they realize who they are and admit it to themselves out loud is a chef's kiss. Okay, sure, that would be a cool way of doing it, but what if your narrator is, like, unreliable, or your narrator is bigoted, or your narrator has a different opinion? Because you remember, Lily just strikes me as the kind of person who thinks that the narrator is the voice of the author. No. The narrator... Hold on. I'll be right back. There's actually a really good book on this. Hold on, I'll show you. This is good. Sorry, I'm back. Okay. So this is, this is, Letters to a Young Novelist by Mario Vargas Llosa. And there's a really good line he has here talking about narrators. And I want to read it to you because it's actually a really, really good line. Fucking hell, this is a... I have a bookmark, but where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay. Today I'd like to discuss the narrator, the most important character in any novel, and the one upon whom, in a way, all the rest depend. But first we must clear up a common misunderstanding. The narrator, that is, the person who tells the story, must not be confused with the author, the person who writes it. Now obviously here he's talking more about third-person stories. I mean, in a first-person story it's very easy to see that the narrator is a character, but he's obviously referring to third-person stuff here. This is a very serious error, made even by many novelists who, having decided to tell their stories in first person and deliberately taking their own biographies as their subject matter, believe that they are the narrators of their fictions. They are mistaken. A narrator is being made of words and not of flesh and blood, as authors tend to be. The former lives only within the confines of the story that is being told, and only while he is telling it. In parentheses, the boundaries of the story are those of his existence. The author has a much richer and fuller life which predates the writing of a particular novel and survives it. Even while he is writing a novel, it does not entirely occupy his existence. The narrator is always a made-up character, a fictional being, just like all the other characters whose story he tells, but he is the most important because the way he acts, showing or hiding himself, lingering or surging ahead, being explicit or elusive, talkative or taciturn, playful or serious, or maybe in this case, bigoted, because maybe your narrator doesn't particularly accept the trans character, right? Doesn't mean the author doesn't. Sorry. Segue there. Decides whether we will be persuaded of the reality of the other characters and whether we will be convinced that they are not puppets or caricatures. The behavior of the narrator establishes the internal coherence of a story, which in turn is an essential factor in determining its power to persuade. So... yeah, that's kind of my philosophy on narrators. Narrators, you got to remember that when you're writing a story, you're not the voice of the narrator, right? You're creating a character. So yeah, it would be a pretty cool thing for like, oh yep, the narrator changes when it changes the character's pronouns when the character realizes, oh my god, I'm trans. That'll be great, but maybe the narrator is different. Maybe the narrator doesn't necessarily agree with the character. Maybe the narrator is foreshadowing that the character isn't maybe that sure. Tons of nuance there. Number 93. As long as it isn't harmful or bigoted, you don't have to justify story decisions made on the basis of self-indulgence. What? So if you write a Mary... oh, I see now. So if you write a Mary Sue, but it's not harmful or bigoted, it's just a shitty character, you don't have to justify that. You can just say, fuck you. I can do whatever I want. No, this is anti-good writing advice. You're just basically telling people... Just write as shitty of a story as you want. And as long as it's not bigoted or harmful to people, then you don't have to justify. You don't have to... I mean, yeah, sure, you don't have to justify writing. You can write whatever you want. If that's what she's trying to say, where it's like, you can write whatever you want. And it's not, I personally think you can write something if it's harmful or bigoted as well. People don't have to read it if they don't want to. Write whatever the fuck you want. But if you're trying to make a good story and you're going to say, nope, my story's still a good story because nothing that's harmful and bigoted. I know that my characters are Mary Sue and these perspective jumps make no sense and the story structure is completely fucking incoherent. Nope, it's fine. No, it's shit. It's fucking garbage. Alright? And writing a purely self-indulgent story is a great way to make a bad story. Alright? Good writers don't always write about things they like writing about. Good writers broaden their experiences. I learned how to play poker because fucking my story has poker in it. Now I'm considering trying to become a professional poker player because I enjoy it that much. Right? Fucking... 94. We're almost at the end. Vampires/werewolves are not inherently LGBTA, no Q, coded, and doing so is an example of othering. They work better as metaphors for aristocracy and predators respectively than as an underclass. Okay, well, so what? Why can't you write them as like a metaphor for trans characters? What? How is that an example of othering? It's a metaphor. Not saying like, them trannies just like werewolves, bro. Just like werewolves. They're fucking men by day, and they're fucking when they at night they fucking put on the dress and they're women now. What do you want about? Fucking. Oh my god, I'm falling asleep here, man. Okay. 95. Some of the best stories ever made were written as an act of spite. Sure, not really writing advice, but sure, true. Number 96. Any system of government, with the exception of fascism, can exist in a positive or negative context. Monarchies are not always inherently evil, and democracies are not always inherently good. Write accordingly. Okay, how about this? How about all systems of government are not inherently positive or negative? I know that you have this massive hate boner for fascism. Yes, I do as well. But you fail to recognize that for some people, fascism is great. Fascism is fucking amazing. Maybe the story is written from the perspective of a character who is a fascist. And so the fascism is excellent and democracy is horrible. Okay? Maybe, in that case, it could exist in a positive context. You're writing it from the perspective of that character. Maybe there's a fascist government ran by a benevolent dictator who has ultimate authority and ultimate power. Whatever he says goes. But he is progressive. He thinks that all people should have equal rights. He's, everyone's treated fairly under law. Everyone gets a fair trial. It's basically like a utopian United States where everything is fucking great. No one's poor, no one's starving, and everyone's happy and no one's oppressed. Is that fascism still? Yeah. You're being run by a dictator who has ultimate power and authority. Kind of sounds good though, right? So yeah, the fuck you on about? This is just another anti-nuance piece of advice. Fuck off with that bullshit. 97. Lesbians still on good terms with ex-boyfriend from before coming out is a really cute friendship trope and vice versa. I mean, sure, I agree with that, but once again, that's just you going, oh, this is a trope I like. You should write it. Like, fuck off. 98. The only real difference between an extremely close platonic relationship and a romantic relationship is what the people involved choose to call it. What? Best friends are not something that should ever be prefixed with the word yes. Okay, no, what? Okay. It is possible to have a best friend but not be romantically interested in them, okay? I'm not romantically interested in my best friend, okay? Even if I was, even if I did swing that way, we're not romantically compatible, okay? We're great as friends, but we're not romantically compatible, okay? It's no. Now, maybe if you want to say between men and women, it's kind of hard for men and women to be close friends without there being something there, you know? Especially for women, maybe it's easier, but ladies, if a guy considers you a really close friend and, you know, he is not of a sexual orientation that wouldn't be attracted to you, he probably wants to fuck you, just letting you know. But yeah, this is, the dumb bullshit. Normalize friends saying I love you to each other. It's not writing advice, that's just you preaching. I mean, yeah, cool. Yeah, I love my friends. I do. I really respect them and I love them as people. But, yeah, I have no problem with this, but it's not writing advice. What do you want about? Number 100. Oh, we're at the end. If you write a 100 tweet long thread of writing advice, you are a huge loser with way too much free time on your hands. Get back to work and do something productive with your time. Wow, I agree with that. Excellent. But you know what? I kind of think I'm a bigger loser for sitting here and fucking wasting my time reading this retarded screed. Number 101, tips and rules are two different words. Okay, yeah, I know. But most of these weren't tips. Most of these were just your bullshit opinion. The few pieces of advice you gave, some of them were genuinely good advice. A lot of them were just fucking garbage, but most of them weren't even tips or advice. They were just you moralizing, you just stating your opinion and saying, write stories like this, otherwise you're bad. And yeah, you're just a fucking garbage. I would never read anything written by you based on what I've read here. It would be almost certainly garbage, complete shit, and nobody should take you seriously as a writer. Anyways, let's end this, since I've got this book here, right? Let's end this with a really good piece of writing advice, okay? Remember, this is an entire book filled with writing. It's a small book. It's, you know, it's 132 pages, right? Right, hold on, let me, is it 100? 132? $132 pages, okay? Big book, small book of writing advice, but way more than this, obviously. I want to give you the last line, or the last, like, paragraph of the same book, of this book. Okay? Because this is phenomenal. This is probably some of the best writing advice you'd ever hear. I'll just read the farewell. Dear friend, just a few lines of a kind farewell. To reiterate something I've already expressed many times in the course of our correspondence, as, spurred on by your stimulating missives, I've tried to describe some of the tools that good novelists use to cast the kind of spell that keeps readers in thrall. And that is that technique, form, discourse, text, or whatever you want to call it, pedants have come up with many names for something that any reader could identify with ease, is a seamless whole. To isolate them, style, order, points of view, etc. In other words, to perform a vivisection is always, even in the best cases, a form of murder. And a corpse is a pallid and misleading stand-in for a living, breathing, thinking entity, not in the grip of rigor mortis or helpless against the onset of decay. What do I mean by this? Not, of course, that criticism is useless and unnecessary. On the contrary, criticism can be a very valuable guide to the world and ways of an author. And sometimes a critical essay is itself a creative work, no less than a great novel or poem. He lists some examples. At the same time, it seems to me of the utmost importance to make it clear that criticism is in and of itself, even when it is the most rigorous and inspired, unable to entirely account for the phenomenon of creation, to explain it in its totality. A successful fiction or poem will always contain an element or a dimension that rational critical analysis isn't quite able to encompass. This is because criticism is a labor of reason and intelligence, and in literary creation, other factors, sometimes crucial to the work, intuition, sensitivity, divination, and even chance, intervene and escape the very finest nets of literary criticism. That is why no one can teach anyone else to create. At most, we may be taught to read and write. The rest we must teach ourselves, stumbling, falling, and picking ourselves up over and over again. My dear friend, what I'm trying to say is that you should forget everything you've read in my letters about the structure of the novel and just sit down and write. Good luck to you. May 10th, 1997. Have a good day, folks. Sorry, just wanted to give you some good writing advice after this. Y'all take care. Stay safe. Don't listen to fucking idiots telling you how to write. It's... fucking Lily Orchard.